Hi, my name is Rob Barrett and you're watching Cooking for Dads. Today we're going to do some advanced prime rib cooking techniques. If you've never made a prime rib before, watch last year's video, which is a little bit simpler. I think we'll link it right down here. So try that first, kind of go through some of the basics, but if you're looking for some different tastes or a different way of doing it, you've come to the right place. Let's get started. This is an amazing time of year to get meat. Right now, prime rib is $4.98 at some of the grocery stores. But that's choice. This is prime, USDA prime rib, which is $9 a pound here at Costco, so I had to jump on that because basically I've never been able to afford USDA prime before. So one of the key things that I've learned while cooking this is you're trying to warm up the internal temperature of your meat before you cook it. So you bring it out, put it on the countertop. But I want to show you something. If you stick your thermometer in right now, look at the temperature of the meat. This has been out for 3 hours on the countertop, and this is only a 9-pound roast. It's still incredibly cold in not room temperature, so we're going to have to cook it longer than we normally would if it had been out for 4 or 5 hours. That's what's called pre-planning, and I should probably try that sometime. Okay, we're going to take our roast, we're going to wash it, we're going to pat it dry, we're going to set it aside. We're going to make a kosher salt crust for our prime rib. This is a great way of cooking it. This is coarse kosher salt, easy for me to say. And if you haven't tried it, you'll never go back because it's much better than regular table salt. What we're going to do is take an entire box and pour it into a bowl. That has taken much too long. Here we go. We're going to add 1 cup of water and stir that around. We want to make a light paste, kind of like the rice bowl, so it just sticks, but isn't gooey and doesn't run. So we're going to start with a cup and add more as we need it. Stir that around. You do not want to add too much water. That is kind of the key thing. See, along the sides, you want to be able to press it up along the sides. I think it needs just a little bit more. There we go. All right, we are going to preheat our oven to 450 degrees. We're going to get our baking pan out. We are going to lay a 1/2 inch layer of the salt crust, about the same size as our roast is, on the bottom pan. So I'm just going to take some, spread that out. The bottom layer of our crust. This crust will actually seal in the juices like nothing else is sealed in before. Sometimes you have to use a hammer to get it off. Okay, that is about the right size. We are going to lay our roast right on top of that. There we go. Make sure the rib side is down and the fat side is up. That's the way you want to put it down. Okay, now comes the fun part. We're going to take rosemary and lay that along the top of the roast, like this. This gives it kind of a rich flavor. Just like that, press that down. And then, what makes everything better? That's right, bacon. We're going to lay bacon across the top. Now some of you are saying, won't that add fat to your prime rib roast? And let me just tell you, the time to worry about fat is not when you're making prime rib. That ship has sailed. What we're talking about here is taste. And this is going to be a wonderful taste. It smells good actually without it cooking at all, to be honest. All right, There we go. Meat lovers, unite. Now we're going to coat the entire thing with the salt crust. Some of you are saying this is going to be really salty. It's actually not. The salt forms a crust and doesn't actually get into the meat that much. It seals it up and keeps all the juices in, but it doesn't make it overly salty. You'll see what I mean if you make it. We're going to take our salt and we're just going to dump it on and spread it around. To kind of coat everything, if at all possible. And then you have to get the sides. That's the tricky part. Ideally, you would have about 1/4 of an inch all the way around. Depends on how much salt you have and how much roast you have. Thick layer. That is not perfect. That is close. Okay, take your meat thermometer, which you have to have because this is your key. You're gonna stick that into the thickest part of the roast, right like that. Okay, and then we're going to put it in the oven at 450 for 10 minutes. Then we clean up. While preparing for this episode, we were lucky enough to find an archaeological find. This is a femur bone of an early human hominid from the Neanderthal period. We actually carbon dated it at around 14 to 15 billion years old. And then unfortunately, we realized that it's actually horseradish root. So that was embarrassing. But if you haven't made the horseradish sauce that we made last time, go check that out. We'll try to put a link over here to it. It's just really with mayonnaise and horseradish. It's really good, but this is actually the root, and it tastes good, although it is not archaeologically significant. All right, it's 120 degrees internal temperature. That's just right. It did take 20 minutes per pound. So depending on where you start internally, that's how it worked out for us. We're gonna pull this out, set her down. I'm gonna pull this out. We're gonna cover it with foil, let it sit for 10 minutes. We're gonna break open the crust, slice it up. It's gonna be good. Okay, our 10 minutes is up. We're going to pull off our crust. This. Making a relatively large mess. Break off any pieces that are still on there. This is pretty hard. Okay, we're going to try to lift this out of here. You do want to get any of that crust off. Even over here on the side. Scrape off any of the leftover pieces. Crust. That's not going anywhere. All right, we're gonna lift this up and put it on our cutting board. Here we're gonna peel our bacon off. That aside. You can eat it if you want. Take off your rosemary. All right. Sometimes when you pull this out, the ribs stay in the pan. That's really nice. If not, you have to cut them off. So get your knife, go right where the ribs stop, out of there. Cut right alongside them. If you have a boneless one, you don't have to worry about it as much. And these are good. You can cut them and slice them like ribs if you want. Let me show you. These are basic ribs right there. Beef ribs. Ouch. Nothing wrong with that. We are going to slice into our prime rib though. Now, overall the meat isn't salty, but sometimes the edges can be a little bit, so I'm actually going to start and cut off just a little bit of this edge. Oh yeah, look at that. That is how you should do it. If that is too pink for you, do it to 130 degrees. But this is the way to eat it. Just carve it up. There you go. So the lower cooking temperature of 250 takes longer, but the meat comes out really tender. If you're in a hurry, you can cook it at 350 like we did last year, and it still comes out. But if you have time, do the 250, it's really good. So that's it, prime rib, the best way. My name is Rob Barrett. You're watching Cooking for Dads. Cook well, it's worth it. It melts in your mouth. That is amazing.
Melts in your mouth.
Too salty?
No, not at all.
Yeah, that's amazing, isn't it?
Jan, you got trays?
I want some.
Wife Jan gets in on it.
Not salty at all.
No, I'm taking at least from this if there's more salt in it.
Yeah, you promised useful.
It's worth it, isn't it?